That's the spirit. If you do manky deeds like that and you actually enjoy them, you are going to do very, very well on the show.
If you put a glory hole in the bathroom, you're supposed to then give a discount to the tenants, because that's what I do for my guys.
What is a glory hole?
You put your dick through it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Listen. Now, Lou, what are your feelings about these three utter douchebags? Come on, let's have a listen.
Well, I've written Sarah's husband took a picky with a dicky, Jamali's dad killed some dishes with some fishes, and Chris was a squatter for what you gotta forgotta.
Oh, nice, Lou. Can I just ask about the glory hole? When you put the, you know, in there, what do you do?
Well, what is it for? Just flick the end. That's what they like, I think.
That's the sort of the excitement, isn't it? It's like, oh, what's going to happen?
Oh, because somebody's on the other side. Guys, you should have explained. I thought it was just a hole in the wall. It didn't lead anywhere.
You think that you can't do one for equality and slip your labia through? You absolutely can.
Presumably as you get older, that gets easier.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all rude stuff. Oh, I hope my mum's not watching. Mum, please don't watch. Anyway.
She knows what a glory hole is.
Bill.
I can follow that. Basically, this story involves a runaway dog, a Hawaiian-themed Christmas and a trifle.
I'm in. I'm totally in.
We invited a couple of people over. A friend of mine, Rich Hall, you know, the comedian, and his wife, Karen, who's a very good cook, and she made a lovely trifle to bring over in a beautiful antique glass bowl.
A coupe.
A coupe, exactly. And as we found out later on, this trifle had been a bit of a bone of contention with them because she'd made the trifle in a cheap bowl, and then she thought, no, I can't put it in a cheap bowl. Ooh. I've got to put it in a nice bowl, right? So already there was tension about this trifle.
Christmas tension, always.
Anyway, they loaded all the stuff into the house, 2 small children. The trifle was on the bench in the front garden. And we've also got a rescue dog called Tiger. I said, oh, don't worry, I'll get the trifle. And then the dog came out into the front garden and he saw the open gate, saw his chance, thought, this is it, I'm off. It was one of those moments where the dog caught my eye and then I looked at the open gate and he looked at the open gate and then he looked back at me. It was a standoff. It was like, you know, who's going to crack first? And then I nudged forward a bit, and he went forward a bit. And then I looked at the gate again. He looked at the gate, looked back at me. And then I fatally didn't put the trifle down, and I made a run for the gate. Now, here's the thing. Never, ever run with trifle in an antique glass bowl. So, inexplicably, I was airborne horizontally through the air. You know, like, no! Like that. The dog... I just caught a glimpse of his arse going out of the gate and up the road. And the next minute, I landed and I had an overwhelming sensation of sherry up my nose. Cream, almond, soil from the garden. The whole family is standing round watching me and a bemused passerby who just stopped at the gate on Christmas Day going, what the... And then we had to get the dog back. So, Christmas Day that year, I was wandering the streets of Hammersmith, covered in blood and trifle, and a Hawaiian shirt on, shouting, Tiger!
Well, looks like we might have a skeleton in the closet. Please reveal yourself, mystery skeleton. Out you come. Hello, Rich. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rich, tell us your side of the story.
First of all, let's talk about the dog. If you go to Bill's house, there'll be things at your feet, nibbling at you. There'll be things in your crotch.
And that's just his wife, am I right?
That is Bill, in a nutshell. Bill just takes in animals, and he had this dog, and I want to use that term loosely. We're talking more of a jackal. So I went after the dog. I went into a shop. There was one shop open on Christmas Day selling heretical items. So I bought a pepperami.
Oh, the smell of those. Oof.
I know, they're awful. And I tried to give it the dog, and even he had dignity.
Now, Rich, You do have the look of you that says that you've had your antique trifle bowl smashed.
Antique? No.
Oh.
Swarovski.
No. You're joking. That is like the most expensive of crystalware, isn't it?
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Hall! Welcome back to Unforgivable. Before the break, we asked you whether Jason Manford got a middling reaction when he met Bette Midler, and apparently it's only bloody true. Manford, Midler, details please, what happened?
We've got a bit of previous me and Midler. He's not a fan. I was doing the Raw Variety Show in 2009, and it was the most amount of celebrities you've ever seen in your life. But the great thing about the Raw Variety Show is that everyone's sort of on the same level because you're not the Queen.
Exactly.
She's the most famous person in the world,
Yeah.
and everyone else is the next rung down. And Bette Midler was the headliner. So there was a few other comics, and we were getting selfies all day. It became a bit of a competition. So we all came up for a rehearsal in the afternoon, and Bette Midler's backstage. And as I walked towards the comics, Paddy says, "We've all just had a selfie with Bette Midler." I said, "You're joking, that's the one that we want, you know." So I went running over to little tiny Bette Midler. I said, "Miss Midler, I'm a huge fan of, you know, all that stuff. Can I get a selfie?" And she went, "Are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck are you?" I was like, "Whoa, what's happened here?" Like, and the security came in. And I was a bit like, but they all had one, like I was getting my pass out. I'm supposed to be here. And eventually I managed to, you know, smooth it over, and I came away from Miss Midler and went back over to the comics, who were all pissing themselves laughing. I was like, I can't believe you all got a photo with her. We never got a photo with her. We just saw somebody ask her for one a minute ago and just thought it'd be funny if we sent you over.
Say though, Sarah, with your story, bad and good. Get badder though. Get badder. That's my advice for the show.
OK. I shat myself on an escalator once. It's that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing that we're after, I guess.
Oh, Lou.
I've shat myself.
On an escalator.
Oh, just like in a field.
Yeah.
I shat myself as well. Nabil, let's get it out of the way, gang. Ever shat yourself?
Not myself, my friend's dad.
You shat someone else.
OK, let me explain. So... Right, in Nigeria, we have a thing called shot put. If there's no toilet available, you get a carrier bag and you do a number 2 and then you tie it and you just lob it. Right? We were at a house party and obviously some food I eaten earlier caught up with me in a bad way. Like, you know, once you just feel your stomach going... And I went to the toilet and there was at least 2 people in the toilet. I'm guessing one of them needed help using it. So they were in there for ages. I thought, OK, maybe I should go in the garden. And then I was in the garden and I found a carrier bag and I was like, OK.
Time for shot put.
Absolutely. So I made, like, some deposits in the carrier bag.
Hang on, were they heavy deposits?
Look at me.
Solid deposits?
Do I strike you as an organic muesli kind of... Put some respect on my name. So anyway, I probably lost like a stone into this bag. Like, it was grade A stuff. Like, if you grew plants in it, like, the tomatoes would be this big. It was... And then I tied up the bag, you know, and... So I threw it, and my friend's dad standing at the balcony.
No.
This is extraordinary.
You know, it hit him, and...
What, full in the face, Nabil?
I did not stick around to find out.
That's worse than his actual story. The shit story should be his story.
I didn't want to tell this story because I thought it was shit. The next day, I'm talking to my guy, like, hey, what happened? Well, good. So how did the party go? He said, well, there was an incident.
It's a service dog harness.
I think the dog harness is to do with me. This country hasn't got rabies.
Yeah.
And where I come from, we're riddled with rabies. And so when I first moved to this country, I had a really tiny dog, Biggie. And he was a little black Shih Tzu, and he was so special to me, a little teacup dog. And when I moved to England, number 1, I was very poor. And number 2, I thought he would die if I put him with luggage under the plane. So I opted to falsify a bunch of documents and to make him a little don't pet me jacket and say that he was a service animal. so much anxiety falsifying all these documents because it's super illegal.
Super illegal. This is dangerous.
So much anxiety, you needed a service dog for your anxiety.
I did. So when I arrived at the Toronto airport, they checked my documents and they said to me, all right, you have a service animal. Now remember, this dog is a pocket Paris Hilton dog. I was a real asshole. He was wearing a pink sweater a lot like this one. And they looked at him and they looked at me, but the airlines are just learning about wokeness, so they didn't ask, like, what's wrong with you that they need this dog? They just said, well, because you have a service animal, it's our policy. We have to upgrade you and give you 2 business class seats. One for you, one for the dog. And I melted into the floor. I said, no, please don't. Please just let me sit in coach. He'll stay in his little bag under the seat. We'll be good. We'll be quiet. Nope. All this fanfare. We landed at Heathrow. It was 6 a.m, something like that. And I had my fake documents. And a woman sort of looked over them casually and said, seems you've got everything in order. Go right in.
Whoa.
And I ran. I ran to the Heathrow Express. And then I told that story publicly, and I got email from Heathrow, and they said, present yourself at once with your dog that you fraudulently brought into this country. And I thought they were gonna come, like, take one of my other dogs away.
And also, like, there were, like, 5 wraps of cocaine up his arse.
Rosie.
Right, this might be brilliant comedian Kieran Dowd.
Right.
A few years ago, Kieran had an award-winning show on that Soho Theatre. So I went with my friend, obviously, right before the show, I drank 8 pints. I was arsehole. But luckily, no one can tell. We got seated on the front row.
Oh, dear.
Right in the middle. And the light went down, and I thought, I need a wee. And I thought, I'm gonna piss everywhere. So at the moment he turned his back, I legged over the stage. Right in front of him, I ran out, bashed everyone, got to the disabled toilet, vomited everywhere. They could hear me throwing up in the show. And then, I can't explain why I did this, but I got naked.
Of course you did.
And I fell asleep for an hour on the bathroom floor.
So did you sleep overnight?
No, they were lovely up until about midnight when they knocked on the door and they were like, right, you need to fuck off. To be fair, I really like Kieran as a comedian.
Yeah, he's great.
But I do prefer beer.
When I was like 19, I was modelling in South Korea. Yeah, fashion capital of the world. Some might say it's Tokyo or Paris or Milan, but I went to Seoul because basically my boobs were too big for Japan. That's what they said to me. Like I would sink the place if I landed with my big knockers. Yeah. So I got shipped off to South Korea, to Seoul, and it was incredible experience. I was 19, and I made a brilliant friend, despite the fact that on that trip, the Korean makeup artist, we were on this minibus because we were on a job like overnight and we were all travelling around doing all these photo shoots. And the makeup artist came at me to do my eyebrows, and she came out with an old-fashioned, like, prison-style flip-out razor to start to go at my eyebrows, and I was watching in a little mirror, and then I was like, no, enough now, no more, because they were trying to really shave my eyebrows off.
Mel does that to my Jack and Danny before the
And so I managed to fend her off, and she left my eyebrows alone, and then she went over to Claire, who was asleep, and I remember just watching, thinking, should I wake her up? Because she's going to have no eyebrows left. And then I remember just thinking, nah, it's quite funny. Let's see what happens. So Claire was, like, fast asleep with her beautiful full eyebrows, and the makeup artist was like... But then they put loads of makeup on, so we didn't know what damage had been done until she washed off her makeup.
And what was left?
We're talking tufts. We're talking 2 little tufts there.
Like sort of Hitler eyebrows?
Well, what, like the... Yeah.
Yes,
no,
mini, central, moustachy, horrid.
I mean... Yeah, it was pretty brutal, and I didn't really stop them, and I could have done.
Did they grow back? Not
They
really.
really did.
That's the thing with eyebrows, gang. Nabil, are you all right there, lovey?
I'm just traumatised thinking about that. How could
worry.
you do that? That's terrible.
You shit in a bag and threw it at your friend's dad.
So is it Sarah's eyebrowless buddy, Nabil's troubled train station manager, or Keith's pissed off but quite attractive restaurant manageress? Let us reveal the conical-headed, smurfy, lovely little friendly gnome. Right,
Just
Claire,
about.
hang on. Oh, they look all right.
They're not real, that's why.
Hang on, have you had implants?
Tattoo.
Have you? And did you have to do that because of what happened in Seoul?
Yeah. And I had no hair. I had a crew cut at the time, which was good until I had the 2 tufts. Sarah found hilarious.
And how did you feel towards your old pal, Coxie, Sarah?
Well, we'd just made a pact, actually. We'd gone on location and become best friends instantly. And
Close.
You know, I've got your back forever. We're just best friends, pinky promise. 12 hours later, I had no eyebrows.
It's time to convince us of your badness, OK, team? Tell us a story that casts off the shackles of your goody two-shoes showbiz persona and wow us with your prowess. By prowess, I mean unforgivable story. Alan, please avail yourself and ourselves with your story.
I got banned from driving.
Yes.
Because I used to have this old Vauxhall Cavalier, and I think, as a general rule of thumb, if there's no one else on the motorway and it's the night, you should be allowed to see how fast your car can go. I feel a swell of agreement, but not everyone's there. But I really floored it.
Which motorway are we talking?
M25.
6? The 25, OK.
I got it over 100, took about 10 minutes.
And the old Cavalier.
It was creeping, and I thought, well, once I get past this junction, it's downhill for a bit. We're really going to get motoring. And then there was a blue light. And then I was in the court.
Ooh.
And they said I was doing between 106 and 108 miles an hour. And I said, well, that'll be 107 then, won't it?
I bet the police really enjoyed that gag.
I took it as 108, though. I thought, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Because the speedo only went up to 120, which is very optimistic.
That's amazing.
And then I thought I was going to get a fine or some points or something, and they said, you're banned from driving for 2 weeks. Next.
2 weeks? That's how long it takes to get around the M25 on a normal day.
Good point.
And it was in Brentwood Court, and the police station adjoins the court, unusually. So I went into the police station. I said, I've just been banned from driving, quite indignant. How am I supposed to get home? I drove there. I said, when does this ban kick in now?
Oh.
How am I going to get home? They said, there's buses down there.
Oh.
And I thought, I'll just drive.
Alan.
I'll just drive home. So I drive about 50 yards, blue lights. Because they watched me go out. They watched me go out and get in the car.
They were waiting for you to do it.
They arrested me.
Oh.
They're laughing. You'll get 18 months for this. Which I took to be in a ban, not a prison sentence. But they put me in this kind of holding cell, and I panicked. I got very panicked. And I wrote down all my mitigating circumstances and a suicide note and a will. And then they took me back in the court in which I'd just been banned.
Oh, my God. Same judge.
Same judge.
Same judge, waiting.
About half an hour later.
Waiting for you.
Oh, no.
And there's a very busy court. And there's not a lot to do in the day in Brentwood, so everybody who hasn't got a job or goes and sits in the court and watches. And they sat me in the public gallery and they sat next to this bloke and he goes, "You're unlucky, son. They get about 3 people a week like that." Next time, he goes, next time, park in the hospital over the road.